Story 1. Septic truck drivers are paid well. Cleaning portable toilets is not something most people want to do. Pays even more if you own them. They are real money makers. Story 2. My cousin is an explosive ordnance disposal technician. She was never in the military, but most of her jobs are as a contractor at military facilities. She takes contracts all over the country that generally last several weeks. The contracts include good base pay plus per diem and housing stipends. If she can drive there, she takes her large truck, her dogs, and a tent and camps so she can keep the housing stipend. She makes enough that when she wants a break she can decline contracts for a few months and stay at the house with the land, woods, and a barn she bought with money from that work. She loves it. She once told me she could get me in, and I briefly considered it because most of it sounds appealing. But I remembered that I am an anxious person who overthinks everything and fears the worst. I would stress myself into an early heart attack if I took a job where one small mistake could cause a serious explosion and severe injury. Story 3. An underwater cable repairman earns about $300,000 a year, but the work is very dangerous. Story 4. Garbage collectors are paid fairly well in most places. Story 5. I am an attorney. I work in an area of law that is dry and complex, and most people do not have the patience for it. Story 6. I have heard that simultaneous interpreters for the United Nations earn a very high salary and the work is extremely stressful. The high pay reflects the level of skill required, but the job is mentally draining. Interpreters listen and render speech in real time for hours at a time. Some interpreters must translate statements by war criminals describing atrocities against children. Apparently, most interpreters do not remain in the role for more than 10 years. Story 7. Many people are intimidated by the math in accounting, but accounting involves very little math. Story 8. My mom is a hospice nurse and earns a good income. The job involves a lot of driving and can be depressing. You are always on call and there is a great deal of paperwork. People often associate hospice nurses with death. When a nurse arrives, it can feel like the end for patients. There is significant emotional labor and fear from both patients and families, and you are often expected to lose every patient. Story 9. Air traffic controllers. A very stressful job that pays well. Story 10. In my home country, I worked in mortuary transportation to pay for college and earned up to 10 times what a physician earned. Strangely, it is also a high-risk job because organized crime often targets people in this field. There is extra money and extra danger if you work near the border. Story 11. There is a rare breed of salespeople with technical backgrounds who are willing to travel. They are usually consultants and earn large incomes. I have seen some earn more than $1 million a year. Story 12. A man who used to live next to me worked as a diver cleaning the outlets at nuclear power plants. In Florida, many manatees swim in the waters during winter to keep warm. He said the job paid well and he traveled around the country. He moved a few years ago. I don't know if he still does it. Story 13. There is a man who cleans the inside of full sewer tanks by hand. He is wearing a hardshell diver suit and works entirely in the dark. I hope he is well compensated. Story 14. The bus drivers in my small city get a starting pay of around $65,000 to $70,000 per year. Someone I know has been there for over 10 years and is paid $150,000 per year. The schedules are poor and unpredictable, and you must deal with the general public. We have a serious homeless and drug problem. Story 15. Manufacturing validation. Just the validation portion, not the design or engineering side. Starting pay is between $60,000 and $90,000, depending on the company. I am earning over $100,000 after only 3 years. At its most basic, the job is reading a thermometer and writing a report. I do love my job. This has generated more messages than I expected. I realize I simplified the description. There is obviously more to it than just reading a thermometer, but for the pay it is not nearly as dangerous or gross as some other jobs. Story 16. I worked in information technology for a truckload and brokerage company that managed many agencies moving various shipments. It was like an insurance company with agents across the country, and we provided the technology and financing. We had highly specialized Agencies that shipped massive equipment such as turbines, explosives, and fireworks. Drivers who transported explosives and fireworks could not have any accidents or tickets on their record, even from their teenage years. They were transporting volatile chemicals. One compound would explode if impacted, exposed to extreme temperatures, or contacted water. If exposed to the outside world, the consequences would be catastrophic. Some of those drivers earned about $10 to $15 per mile about 15 years ago. They did not own the trucks. So imagine driving a truck 500 miles, typically less than a day's work. They would gross $5,000 to $7,500. I knew one driver who had driven 10 million miles without an accident or ticket. That blew my mind. Story 17. I used to drive a road where they were building a high-voltage line alongside it. Helicopters first pulled a light cable between the towers, then used it to pull the conductors. To fasten the cables to each cross arm, a worker in a harness hung from the helicopter. Once he finished a connection, the helicopter carried him to the next tower. You could not pay me enough to do that job. Story 18. Mining operations are usually located in very rural areas. They are generally uninhabited, and shifts are usually 12 hours or more. Story 19. I have a relative who is a merchant mariner. I do not know exactly how much he earns, but he can easily earn $100,000 per year if he chooses. His current contract lasts 5 months. He works every day for 8 to 12 hours, and when it ends he spends 4 to 5 months on vacation abroad. He has essentially no bills except for his cell phone, union dues, and subscriptions such as Netflix. He has his own room on board and meals are provided. Story 20. Blue Seal boiler operators and hire are in short supply, especially in the healthcare industry. The job is not difficult and it pays well. Story 21. People management is an odd role. Senior leaders who do not want responsibility for a business area create a management position they can remove if it does not perform. Many who seek the role are poor fits because they want to avoid doing the work or taking responsibility. They push the risk of being dispensable down the chain, and you end up with few people who know what to do. The best candidates for management often do not want the job because they understand how hard it is to get team members to collaborate and how heavy the workload is. That leaves someone who does not understand the work or the people well trying to dictate priorities because their job is on the line. The best managers can do much of the work themselves, but they need to be kept from doing it so they can focus on keeping everyone moving in the right direction. The luckiest managers have staff who already know the right direction and only need resource balancing. Managers are generally paid well because they are the first to be held accountable. It is difficult to remove the people who actually know how to do the work unless the manager intentionally misleads. Story 22. OP wants to know an easy, well-paying job and gets hit with underwater air-controlling tax attorneys. Story 23. These are the people who clean up at crime scenes, or after someone has committed an act of violence. The owner of one of these services became a multimillionaire in 5 years. Story 24. Emergency room nursing in a major city. I have seen hell. It was in the Weiler emergency room in New York City during the coronavirus pandemic. Story 25. Currently reading No More Tears about Johnson & Johnson. There was and still is incredible money to be made if you can just turn off your conscience. Story 26. I am guessing that any job in the funeral or mortician field pays decently. I have no idea, though. Story 27. My oldest son is a truck driver in the live concert industry. He is 25 years old, single, with no bills and no spouse or children. He started out earning $108,000 a year, with 21 days of paid time off, full medical, dental, and vision insurance, a 401k retirement plan, and a brand new 2026 Peterbilt truck. He is on the road 9 months out of the year, but he is earning a substantial income doing what he loves. Story 28. Workers who replace aircraft warning lights on skyscrapers. Story 29. Plumbers are well paid in my area. It is an unpleasant job, so few people want to do it. Story 30. I saw a video of a man who goes inside concrete mixer trucks to chip hardened concrete from the interior. Story 31. The highest paying jobs are based on fear or unions. Accountants, audit, lawyers, legal system, doctors, death, and electricians, death. If jobs were based on long-term benefit to the world, teachers who teach doctors and lawyers would be the most valued. Story 32. Wasn't there a show on the Discovery Channel years ago with Mike Rowe? Story 33. This has been raised in other posts. Programmers for common business-oriented language are in short supply. That shortage will worsen over the next 5 to 10 years as experienced programmers retire. Common business-oriented language is an older, tedious programming language that is not easy to work with, yet many major financial institutions still rely on it. If you are willing to learn it, because few are, you can earn a high salary. Story 34. Sheet metal workers are doing well. Not enough new workers entering and too many retiring. Of the new workers who enter, most go into heating, ventilation, and air conditioning when they obtain their certification. I did not even have an interview at this place. It was a sales pitch from him about why I should work there. Story 35. Freight train crew. The railroad essentially owns you. You are not allowed to drink or use drugs at any time, and you must be within 90 minutes of your duty station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Story 36. Trash collectors earn more than you would think. Everyone avoids the smell. Story 37. Most of it is blue-collar work. It is not necessarily immediate pay, but you can start without formal education and work your way up. My brother is a plumber. He makes $140,000 a year and has earned that amount since about his 5th year on the job. He only does new construction, meaning he installs new systems rather than cleaning or repairing old ones. My father lives in another state and said he has seen job listings that offer $30,000 to relocate you there to do the work. I know people who move to areas with high demand and receive that bonus pay every few years if they are willing to relocate. Story 38. There is a severe shortage of plumbers. My financial advisor says his wealthiest clients are all plumbers. I told my son the same, but he chose to go to college. He did listen, though. His degree is in civil engineering, and his specialty is water treatment plants, sewers, and water flow. Story 39. Wind turbine or radio tower repair and maintenance. Ish. Story 40. Many of the highest-paying jobs that struggle to attract workers are dirty, dangerous, or physically demanding. Examples include commercial diving and underwater welding, oil rig crews at sea, high-rise window washers, and workers who maintain sewers and septic systems. These jobs pay well because the hours are long, conditions are harsh, and few people are willing to do them. Even crab fishing in Alaska and hazardous materials cleanup offer high wages for the same reason. The work is extremely challenging. Story 41. I am an executive assistant and I will be earning close to $200,000 this year in the technology sector. It is a female-dominated field that few aspire to and many dismiss as being just an assistant or secretary. That is fine by me. There are more opportunities for those of us who embrace it. Story 42. Electrical linemen and football linemen both earn around $300,000 a year unless they are on the A team. Story 43. Farms do not have sewers. Instead, there is a large septic tank in the ground that collects wastewater. These tanks need to be pumped out approximately every 10 years. If I recall correctly, driving a septic truck can be very lucrative. It is $300 to $500 per job, and it typically takes about an hour to pump out a tank. However, emptying the truck and maintaining the equipment and tank likely requires additional time and expense. Story 44. A truck driver for traffic control is responsible for protecting roadside staff. The vehicle is designed to absorb the impact of any vehicle that strikes it. The driver must remain strapped in and cannot exit the vehicle at any time. Story 45. Fishermen go into rough seas for months at a time. Many operations are illegal and suspicious, but if you work for a legitimate one, you can earn substantial money. Few people can do this because it is exhausting and dangerous, and you are away from society for long periods. Story 46. There was a career fair in my community college welding class. The highest-paying job involved traveling to repair communication towers. Applicants had to be willing to climb 500 feet and perform dangerous work in all kinds of upstate New York weather. These antennas are in remote locations, so assignments last 5 to 6 days. You live out of a hotel and eat gas station food. No one in the class was interested in applying for that job. I earn less, but I sleep in my own bed, eat real food, and stay close to the ground. Story 47. I have a nephew who basically changes light bulbs on cell towers. Another works on rigs in the Gulf of Mexico and Alaska. Both make a lot of money and get a lot of time off. Story 48. People who paint stealth aircraft are said to face a high cancer risk from prolonged exposure during painting. I heard they make a substantial amount of money, upwards of $100 an hour, but the pay may not be worth the health risk. Story 49. Sanitation is one. Crime scene cleanup is another. If you can, increase your chances by applying to good jobs in locations others do not want to live. That is how I got my state job, a fantastic position. Story 50. Commercial saturation diving is very dangerous. You must be extremely focused and have excellent attention to detail. I know many divers, including people who lost a hand while underwater welding. Math skills are also required to pass diving school. When you are in a diving bell for days while decompressing and your appendix becomes inflamed, you cannot surface to get medical care. Story 51. My father did demolition work. When we would drive through cities, he could point out cuts he had done on structures such as freeways. Most of the people he worked with owned million-dollar homes in California. If you are not careful, it will break your body. My father told me there were specific jobs so dangerous and backbreaking that they had a single old-timer doing them. No one wanted to learn them. I think it was cutting concrete walls, but I cannot remember. He could earn in under 40 hours a week what I earn working 60 hours every 2 weeks. The job was unionized, which helped a lot. Story 52. Bridge painters on the Golden Gate Bridge earn approximately $150,000 or more. I recall that the job was quite dangerous. Story 53. Developers specialized in the Common Business-Oriented Language, an older and difficult programming language that has been largely superseded but remains extremely stable and is used for critical infrastructure such as banks and missile silos. So few developers remain that organizations often pay $250,000 a year to retain one rather than risk system failures. Story 54. Waste management and sanitation jobs often pay well because few people want to handle that work. Oil rig workers also receive high pay due to danger and harsh conditions. The same is true for certain trades, such as underwater welding. These wages reflect a willingness to do work others avoid. Story 55. When I first started my career in software quality assurance, it was well paid because developers did not want to do it, but it was still important to delivering a good product. 10 years later, wages have fallen significantly because the field has opened up to remote workers around the world. Story 56. I am in New Jersey. Police officers are paid more here and can easily earn $200,000 with overtime. Story 57. I hope you are able to see this. Police officers have very good pay, usually with a pension and retirement at age 55, and earn above 6 figures in major metropolitan areas. Sales positions, although not as lucrative as in the past, pay more because most people do not like them. Skilled blue-collar positions such as plumbers, oil rig operators, and electricians all pay well. Story 58. There are quite a few high-paying jobs that most people avoid because they are dirty, dangerous, or just unpleasant. Examples include oil rig workers, deep-sea fishermen, garbage collectors, sewer inspectors, commercial divers, and high-rise window washers. The pay often reflects the risk, discomfort, or skill required, which most people are not willing to handle. Story 59. Printer repair. Everyone hates dealing with printers, but if it is all you do, you learn all the ins and outs, and it is not bad. Pays very well. I made $55,000 a year working banker's hours, indoors with no heavy manual labor, with only a high school diploma. That enabled me to get additional training and springboard my career further. It was the critical first step. It paid well enough that I could focus on the future and had the time and energy to attend school in the evenings. If you are stuck on the help desk and desperately want something better, consider Xerox. Story 60. My dad is a plumber. He specializes in clearing drains. He could charge so much more than he does. but he does it to help people and charges just enough to get by. Story 61. Oil rig jobs are isolated, risky, and exhausting, but very well paid. Story 62. Correctional officers can earn good pay and benefits in some states and counties. In others, compensation is lower. The work can be extremely stressful and even dangerous in certain facilities. Conditions depend on the type of facility and how well it is administered, staffed, and funded. It is shift work, and depending on the location, it can take years to get weekends off. The job is not for everyone, but some people do very well in it. Many women perform well as officers in male facilities because they often have strong communication skills and can verbally defuse situations without resorting to the use of force. Story 63. High pay usually means danger, filth, or extreme boredom. Pick 2. Story 64. A person who performs anal bleaching. I don't care how much it pays. It's a definite no for me. Story 65. Bartending is something many people want to do when they are young, but once you get married and have children, the late nights take a toll. I work 3 nights a week, from 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 2:30 in the morning, and a Sunday day shift for football, earning about $90,000 to $120,000 a year. I have been at the same bar for 7 years, and now I am in a position where I will probably never have a normal job with regular hours and benefits. I am in my 30s, so I need to get my act together and start saving. I would like to find something with health benefits by my 40s. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.